A certain smell of food, the skyline of the city you grew up in, certain sounds. All of these trigger a certain emotion that, in my opinion, is one of the best. An emotion so powerful it can turn the clocks back no matter who you are. So hello everyone, my name is Shmenty, and this is my analysis of nostalgia. I don't really know who you are. I don't know when you grew up. I don't know where you're from or what memories you had as a kid. For me, one of the most nostalgic things, if not the most, is Minecraft. This game is something special. It's not a normal video game. In my opinion, it plays more like a piece of art, a sandbox, than a typical video game for me. And I get completely different emotions when I'm playing it versus when I'm remembering it. You see, the music of Minecraft is something special. Back in 2018, when I was watching Jay Schlatt's tribute to Minecraft, which honestly inspired me to make this channel, the part about music really stood out to me. You see, the music of Minecraft really doesn't sound like anything special at first. Until, after a decade of it constantly being repeated in your head, you begin to realize that it wasn't actually ever about the music. It was just about what we did when we were listening to it. And this brings me into the point. Nostalgia can be defined as many things. A quick Google search reveals that nostalgia is defined as a sentimental longing or a wistful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. And I think this sums it up pretty well, but honestly, I don't think it can be defined. I think nostalgia is not necessarily about how we made the memories or what the memories are. It's more about the fact that we made them. It's like happiness. Everyone experiences it, but everyone experiences it differently than others. And for me, my nostalgia can be completely different from yours. I didn't grow up in the 90s, but for those of you that did, you have completely different interests as a kid, and that shows. You see, nostalgia can really not be defined at the end of the day. It's really easy to just go with the Google definition and move on with your day, but every once in a while, I look back, and I experience an emotion that I actually cannot define. It's not happiness, and it's not sadness. It's a mixture of the two that I don't know what the balance is. It's difficult to say exactly what it makes you feel, but all that I know is that it makes you feel. And that's why I love it so much. That's why I love making my tributes so much. Because just for a moment, I can return to the kid I used to be. No, my life is not horrible today. I have a great life. But just for a moment of time, I'm able to look back and remember things that I did with friends I haven't spoken to in a decade. I'm able to read a book that I haven't read since I could just learn how to read. Nostalgia is a difficult thing to put your finger on. That's my main point. But the fact that it exists just proves to me that this world has a lot more good than we give it credit for.
Wow, so that's it, huh? Just
For most of us, middle school is a difficult time in our lives. For me, there wasn't much I could cling on to in life. Yes, I played sports and I hung out with friends, but I think we all have something that really helped us through those developing years. For me, it was a certain TV show. A show that had premiered over a decade and a half before I started watching it, but it still wrapped me up like a warm blanket, a familiar friend from your childhood. That show was The Office. This mockumentary comedy about some office workers at a paper company kept me company through homework, through drama, through everything. It was never meant to be an emotional show, but if it wasn't, then Andy Bernard's line, "I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you leave them," wouldn't hit so hard. Chances are you've watched this show before, or at least heard of it, and if so, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When it was taken off Netflix, it felt like a piece of my childhood was destroyed. And although it's on NBC's own service show, it doesn't feel the same. The thing about TV shows for me is that I can remember where I was for certain episodes. It's really weird to explain, but say I was playing a certain game when I watched an episode, if I go through that level again, that episode just comes rushing back to my brain. I can remember it again. The fact that the human brain is capable of this is so enthralling to me. The fact that this emotion can hit me so deep is something I take for granted every day. Maybe you've never watched The Office before, but you've probably watched a TV show that gives you this emotion. A TV show that you could binge. And during that time, nothing mattered. It didn't matter what was going on. It didn't matter if your grades sucked or if your friends were being mean. All that mattered was that you were able to spend a couple of moments watching some people on a screen enjoy their life. That's the thing about TV shows. They are so relatable.
Oh, shoot.
And when they're relatable,
That's my cap.
that's when they hit you the hardest. It's not the drama TV shows or the action TV shows that affect me the most. It's the comedies about normal people and normal things that they do. Because I can see myself in their shoes, and when I do that, well, then I get a lot more emotional. When I look through lists of the most nostalgic things, a lot of them break down to the same thing. Old animated movies. I say old, but honestly, pretty much everything Pixar made, and still makes, is something that shaped me into who I am today. I don't know what it is about animation, but it always hits me harder when I'm thinking about nostalgia than almost any live-action movie. A lot of these movies are animated masterpieces, and have won plenty of awards for that. But even if they didn't, even if they sucked, the fact that certain soundtracks, and even certain art styles, remind me so much of them, that it just makes me emotional. I'm not a very emotional person, but when I like to explore nostalgia, it really all comes flooding back to me. I'm not that old. I'm just a kid going through life trying to pay tributes to the things that shaped me into who I am right now. And yet, when I look back on these movies, it makes me feel like I'm looking back on my life. In the short years that I've spent on this earth, I'm just happy overall that so many of them could be spent watching these movies with my family. I don't know what movies you watched as a kid. I don't know what you loved as a kid. All I know is that these movies completely formed me into who I am. And without them, I'm not sure of who I would be. At the end of the day, I think nostalgia is something that we all experience. So whether you're 7 or 72, it really doesn't matter. The thing about life is that we all have memories of where we grew up, the things we did, the memories we made. And the one consistent thing is that we didn't know that we were actually making these memories. The things I have the most nostalgia for are the things that I had no idea I was even going to remember. I just got caught up in them so much. I fell so far in love with them that I couldn't do anything else. All I could think about for that little moment was how much I enjoyed spending that time. And I think that's what we think about. You see, our brains trick us into believing that all of our memories are, for the most part, good, even if in reality they weren't that good. So when we look back and we see things and times that were simpler, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were better than they are now. But what it does mean is that they happened, and that we can be happy that they happened, and that we can look back on the people that we made those memories with. And I think that's beautiful.